Hey, today I'm going to show you how to build a pretty cheap and quick bed for your Prius. This is a 2017. It's a 72-inch full bed. I can completely stretch out in it. I'm almost 5'11". So we start out with a couple pieces of pink foam that are about 34 inches tall, 32 inches wide, and an inch and a half thick. And there's two of them. And they go in there to take care of that step they left in there. So those just fit in there quite easily. And there's a pretty good base. Then the first bottom piece, I use 1/2-inch plywood. And that is 41 inches tall by 36 inches wide. And it's a 1/2 inch thick. And that is the deck for the back. And that just goes in there like so. So the next piece, you got to make some extra cuts and do some stuff in, but it's pretty easy. So it's a teeter, and as you can see, it's about 31 3/4 inches tall by 45 inches wide. And I've got two steps in it. Those are so when you push it back to get out of the way to drive, it misses everything. And you can see that my first step is about 23 3/4 inches down, and I cut it down to 39 1/2. And the second cut's down about 28 3/4, and it's 36 inches wide. So you basically got that, and then you've got a couple of boards I put on there for stiffeners. That center cut down, that's shorter, is what actually sits on the center console where your armrest is. The other two are going to hold a couple of legs to make it nice and sturdy when it's in there. And I think those are on there. They're about 16 inches long, and they're 2.5 inches from the outside edge. And then the center one I had to make shorter to make it lay flat. So you just take that, put it in there, and you come around and you can just move it around in there pretty easily. And that just sits in there, and it sits on that center console. And here I'll take my camera, and you can see that that's how that fits. Now I usually have to shim it a little bit to make it perfectly flat in the middle. It's pretty darn close. You can see there ain't much of a gap, but what you do is when you're driving the car, you just pick it up and you slide it back, and as you can see, it misses the sides of the car, and then you can, I'm a little off center, but then you can drive it. So what you want to do then is when you're going to use it, you slide it ahead, and I have a couple of legs. Sometimes I use these Yardman things to put a shim under here. Sometimes I shim the middle a little bit, which I probably will. All I do is put these under that center piece underneath. But if you looked, this would be pretty teetery in the corners. So what I have is a couple of legs that look like this. And I have one that's an alignment pin and then one that I screw in. And you just put them in there and up underneath here, if I can get it done with one hand. I won't put them all the way in, but as you can see, they go in and they attach to that underboard. They're just not in all the way. I just haven't lined up the pins. Then that corner is solid. And if two people sleep in here, there's actually a pretty good amount of room, because you kind of sleep up in the corners and your feet kind of just are the closest thing that comes together by these shock towers. But there's a pretty good chunk of room. So there is the futon mattress I put in, and I actually cut out some of the futon to go around the shock towers so it lays a little flatter, otherwise it kind of bunches up. But that's 72 inches, and you know, with the hatch the way it is, when it's closed, your feet aren't anywhere near the roof, and you can completely get in here and stretch out I just climb in the side here, and it's a full-blown bed, pretty comfy. My head is 4 inches from either end, and of course you got air conditioning and stuff. And then there's one last thing I'll show you here in a sec. So the last thing I did was, since it gets hot at night and you really need ventilation, is I built a couple of screens that pop into the window. And they let air in, and they're inside, so if it starts to rain, you can put the window up. I'll pause it and throw one of them in quick. All right, there you go. There's what it looks like when the door is in, or the screen is in the door, and you can put the windows down and let the air in. So, go underneath there. I kind of attached them again, thinking about putting a hinge on them so they stay attached all the time, and then just pivot them and put a pin in to make them stay. But overall, like I say, the only thing I probably didn't do is I would take some of them. If I put one of them under the back and two under that center pivot point, it becomes dead flat. There's about 1 inch of up and down in the bed from front to rear. If you're camping somewhere, you can always look for a little downhill slope. So there you go. Hope it helps for somebody who's thinking about making something. Have a great day.